started on August 24th. I drove out to the place where I wanted to go sheep hunting, and I made it a little over 12 kilometers, and I spotted some sheep and was sitting there watching them. When I was standing there, I saw a little brown thing run in front of me, and it was literally 10 feet away. And I knew right away what it was. It was a grizzly bear cub. And I got the overwhelming feeling of being screwed, like it was in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Because where was Mama? And as I was reaching out my backpack to grab my bear spray, I heard a branch break over my right shoulder. And when I looked, there was Mama on full charge. She came to bite me, and she managed to get a hold of my right hand, crushing against the frame of the pack. And I remember seeing her teeth sink into my hand, and you could feel them separating the bones and grinding on the frame of the pack. And so I managed to get my hand away in the pack, and I started beating her up, hitting her really hard with the frame of the pack, and just trying to inflict a lot of pain on her. And then she decided to turn around and start backing away, and I took my eyes off her. And then I remember just looking up, and she had spun around, and she came charging back in. And this is what I call like the beginning of round two. I chucked my backpack at her, tried to run and climb a tree. Well, she came running behind me, and about 5.5 feet off the ground. My right leg was dangling low. She stood on her hind legs, reached up, wrapped her paws around my right knee, and she stood up on her hind end. And I remember looking down and seeing her paws wrap around my right leg, and she just kind of pulled it towards her mouth, and she lunged up, and she caught me right around my leg, bit me in the back of the knee, and I remember seeing her teeth sink in, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is gonna hurt, but at the time I didn't feel any pain, just the power of her. She, I had all I could do to hold onto the tree, and she just pulled me out of the tree like nothing. When I hit the ground, I crawled underneath the tree, and the tree I was in was a spruce tree. So I crawled underneath the base of the spruce tree, wrapped my arms and legs around the base. It was working at first. Then she'd come in with her mouth, and she bit me right on the left side, kind of below my ribs, but above my hips, right in there, and picked me up and shook me like a rag doll, threw me on the ground. And then before I could even take a breath and curl up in a ball, she bit me on the left side of the face. Her top two canine teeth caught me on either side of the left eye. When she crunched down, she removed the whole left side of my face in one fell swoop. And she bit me in the face. I punched her in the mouth and grabbed her by the tongue. And then her back legs are digging into my right side, and I was trying to get her off of me. And she's like about a 350 pound bear. And I couldn't budge, and then my hand hit the belly, and I reached up in between her legs and grabbed at the time what I thought was balls, twisted and pulled. And she made a horrible sound, started bucking like a bronco and squealing like a pig. And I let go, and she ran up back the way she came, just squealing like a pig and defecating across the mountainside. That's when I got up, dusted myself off, thinking, well, that's not so bad. I mean, I can go over there and get my sheep or go look for the bear. And then I was sitting there leaning against the old rotten log, debating what to do. And as I had my gun against my left shoulder, and I had the clip in my right hand, and I was putting in rounds in the clip, and that's when everything went numb. My hands dropped, and I could hear the sound of ice breaking as she had come back and grabbed me by the back of the head and started to drag me back into the bushes. And I just remember seeing her paws on either side of me, just digging in the ground, and her just grunting like, and just pulling me like a dog when they play tug of war. And I'm not sure how far she dragged me, and it seemed quite a ways, but probably was like 10, 15 feet. And then she reached over. When we came to a stop, I was sitting on my butt. She reached over with her paw and caught me on the bottom corner of the left side of the face, and she peeled all the way across one swoop, removing all the skin off of my face from this side all the way through my head, my ear. And then she started chewing on this side of my head, just like a dog gnawing on a bone. And I kept fighting back, which is the wrong thing to do in a defense attack, because the more you fight, the more aggressive they are. After the third round, crawling back to my pack, I started to panic. I found my gun right away, but I tried to put a shell in the chamber, and my fingers were broken and going different directions, so I was unable to drop a shell right into the chamber of the gun. it kept falling out where the clip goes. And so I started to panic and really panic, and I was feeling around the mountainside, and I found a piece that of flesh, you could tell, and it had a little bit of bristles on there and some soft spot, which was part of my face, mustache, goatee. And then I found another larger chunk that felt like hard cartilagey. It was a piece of my ear and a piece of my scalp. So I picked that up off the ground and just, I mean, I couldn't see really. My left eye was hanging down out of the socket. My right eye, I didn't think I had it. I was feeling my head and I couldn't see anything. Yeah, I had to kind of hold it to see straight or tilt my head way back. Right away, I knew I wasn't going to make it. When I started picking a piece of my face off the ground and I was sitting there, I knew that this was it. Like, I wasn't going to make it very far. I was bleeding out of my face, my hands, my left side, my legs. The blood was just pouring out, and I was sitting there thinking, this is it. This is the end. And so when I came to realization with that, things slowed down and I got really calm. I was more concerned that I was never going to be able to see my wife again, never going to see my daughter grow up, graduate, walk down the aisle. I was never going to be able to kick the first boyfriend out of the house. And I was never going to see my wife again, my first true love. And so I sent her some messages, letting her know that I screwed up. So after the third round, when I was sitting there holding a piece of my face in the ground, I knew I wasn't going to make it. And it was a couple options, do I try to endure the endurable? Do I just lay there and let things happen? Or do I end it on my terms? And so I loaded up my rifle and I placed the butt of it against the ground and I put my chin on the barrel and I pulled the trigger and the gun didn't go off. And I was confused at first, so I reached down to cycle the bolt, and when I grabbed the bolt, the gun went off and it sent a bullet just into the side of my face. And that's when I realized that, I gotta try to make it somewhere where they're gonna find the body, because my wife deserved fast closure. And I made it maybe 15 feet down there, and I fell into the drainage and rolled about, 200 or so feet down to the bottom to a creek. And I was laying there tangling the rocks and just face down in an excruciating amount of pain. So I pulled my phone out to send my final goodbyes and then tried to play some music. And the first song that came on, actually the song that came on repeat, was Baby Shark, the song I played for my daughter the night before while putting her to bed. And it was on repeat. So to my luck, I was sitting there laying there listening to that.
Yeah. Do you think that kind of, did that kind of alter something in your brain that made you carry on?
Yeah, so that song just triggered, for me to roll over and reach for the first rock, just to pull myself up. Like, it gave me the strength and the will to keep going. And at first I was just focusing on what I could reach. It'd be the first rock, I'd pull myself to that, and then I reached for the second rock and pull myself up. But I was only focused on 3 feet, 5 feet at a time. And I set all these little mini goals, like I can make it to that one, I can make it to the next one. And all the time Baby Shark was playing, in that moment I found my rock, my motivation, my inspiration to keep going. And that was my family. And that song really made me think of them. When I first woke up, I couldn't see. My eyes were all crusted shut. So it was probably 2-3 days before I actually saw her. And even then it was all blurry. I could only see basically outlines and shapes for the first couple of weeks. But she'd always sit at the foot of the bed, and I'd have massive flashbacks all the time. Every time I closed my eyes, or every 15 minutes, I'd be fighting a bear. She used to sit at the foot of the bed and squeeze my feet and massage my feet. Because at the time, that was the only thing I didn't have bandages on. My hands did, my shoulders, my legs, everywhere. So she used to squeeze my feet, and that's the only thing she could do to comfort me at those times. Kind of convinced me to go see a therapist, and I got into ART and auxiliary resolution therapy. And then the therapist got really close, and she started waving her hand in front of my face. And at first I was thinking, what kind of voodoo BS is this? Like, how's this going to help? But then I had to think for myself, she's an expert, and I gotta trust her. If I want to get better, I gotta trust in the process. And so I took a couple minutes to reset myself, came back in, and we started. Once we finished, that was the first night in 3 years that I got more than 7.5 hours of sleep in a row. So I did 3 sessions total of that, and now I had very few nightmares. Usually on the anniversary, I get a few. It depends on the stresses at the time.
And so how are you doing now? I mean, is it still do you still get those flashbacks?
No, I got a few last year in August. In the last 6 to 8 months, I haven't had one at all. Asking for psychiatric help is not a weakness, but a strength. And working in a team, you can achieve incredible things, because it took a large team of people collaborating to get to the stage where I'm at.